Hey, what's up, everybody? Yeah, welcome to the Mike Dolce Show, Ask the Dietitian edition. We have none other than the Dolce Dietitian, Professor Lindsay Howard MS, RD, LRD, CSCS, DDC. Is that enough? Is that
C, D, E, F, G?
What is it? Exactly. How you doing, Linz? Good morning.
Pretty good. How about you?
I am wonderful. Life is good. We're still digging out of the snow, not nearly as much as you have up there in Scranton, but we're doing okay as I get this going. And how is it up there weather-wise?
It's coming down. I don't know. Let me go this way.
Wow.
You could see it. It's white because it's snowing.
It looks like 4-foot snowbanks behind you.
Yes.
Okay.
We're supposed to get, I don't know, every forecast is different, but like, I don't know, 4 to 6 inches in the next couple hours. So we'll see.
Does that mean we're getting some down here? Do you know the New Jersey weather forecast, by the way?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, well, that's all right. Well, good morning. Thank you for being here. This will be a Q&A show, so we see people starting to join. Welcome, everybody. Feel free to leave your questions up there. It's camera issue. In the comment section, we'll jump in. But Lindsay, I wanted to briefly just get a little background on yourself. If you could just tell the audience a little bit about where you came from and then fast forward to where you are right now.
Sure. So, school was a long ride for me, but I enjoyed every second of it. So I started, I guess in high school, or even younger years, playing every sport that there was. Towards the end of high school, I kind of started to focus on just soccer and basketball. So originally I intended to go and play soccer and basketball in college. I was getting recruited for both. I ended up having some health issues towards the end of my junior year of high school. So I had to miss my senior year of soccer. So just went the basketball route. So I chose a school. I knew I wanted to study something with exercise science. I think initially I wanted physical therapy, and that quickly ended. I'm not a fan of working with old people. No offense to the older population, but I just...
Wait, time out. What do you define as old?
Like geriatric.
All right. So not 44.
No.
All right.
So I picked a school. Yeah, I hate to say this because I always tell people that I'm recruiting for basketball, not to pick a school just for basketball, but yeah. I picked the school, for basketball, for the program that they had, the exercise science program, and the size and distance from my house. So, or from where I grew up in Maryland. So, sure. Ended up at Shippensburg. I was there for 4 years on a basketball scholarship. Finished my degree in exercise science, yep. And towards the end, I found that I just had kind of this passion for nutrition because I had one class in sports nutrition and the rest was, exercise physiology and all that stuff, which I loved. So I became a CSCS leaving college, which was nice. We were forced to take that exam, which is like a blessing in disguise. So I spent a good deal of my, last semester in college preparing for that test. But so I wanted sports nutrition, and ironically, there's really not that many sports nutrition focused programs in the country, really. So I wanted to stay sort of on the East Coast in this kind of general area. My entire family is from Maryland, so I wanted to stay sort of close. So I chose Marywood. So I came to their master's program. It's a combined master's program. It's sports nutrition and exercise science. So I was like, that's perfect. And then when I got here, I had classes, with other graduate students, and they're like talking about undergrad classes. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Why are you taking undergrad classes? They're like, oh, we're taking the undergrad nutrition program classes so that we could eventually sit for the RD exam, which I didn't even know the process of that at that time. So I jumped into that. So expanded my 2-year program into a 4-year program. So I pretty much did a second bachelor's degree and the master's program in 4 years. But while I was doing that, I got my foot in the door, started continuing on with personal training. So I started that in college, doing some strength and conditioning here and there, and I started coaching college basketball. So I started doing all these things while I was in school, and then did my internship. And it was kind of like this crossroads where it was, so you finish undergrad, I don't really know what I'm going to do yet. So I'll go to grad school, learn some more. It sounds really nerdy, but I actually really love school. I would stay in school forever. But at the end of when I graduated with my master's and finished my internship, I'm like, I have to get like an actual job now. I'm bouncing around from here to here and there, job to job. But I'm like, what do I want to do? So, and it's a scary place to be, because it's kind of like, I don't want to go and work for somewhere where I have to sit at a desk for, from 9 to 5, work with old people, like I mentioned, work in a hospital. None of that was for me. So luckily, during that kind of confusing time, I was approached by one of my former professors at Marywood, and she said, hey, we need somebody to teach a couple classes, this semester coming up. And this is like July, and the semester starts in August. I'm like, I never really thought about teaching, but I'll give it a shot. So within 2 weeks, that couple classes turned into, okay, we have a full-time position for you. It's like, well, shoot, might as well give it a shot. It's a 1-year contract. If I don't like it, I can leave. If I like it, I'll stay. And here I am in my 4th year. So, continued on with the personal training, coaching, all that stuff. So, kind of just tacked it on. So it wasn't definitely not a traditional route by any means. But here we are. So I think it's something that I tell my students all the time. It's like, you don't have to have it figured out. If you're a sophomore in college, if you want to change your major, change your major. Yeah. If you get into the workforce, and you want to change your job, change your job. So that's what I really love about this field, is that there are so many different avenues and paths that you could take, depending on what fulfills you and what suits your needs. So here we are.
It's a good point. And as I started getting into the academic tract, I had all through high school thought, well, clinical nutrition, that's the route, baby. That's what I wanted to do, because that was kind of the only job at that time. Let's say that was the most prestigious of the jobs. That seemed like you could make a decent salary. And then as I started to go through, and I actually interned in high school under a clinical nutritionist, who actually was a bodybuilder and a power lifter, and he ran his own practice. And then he kind of turned me to the dark side, if you will, because he was very, wide-eyed when he came out of school. He's probably 15 years older than me. So I think about it. And he started to break down like what the day-to-day is actually like. And he did it for about 6 years, and it just ground him down. And to your point, which is what I say, is you're kind of handing in chores to people in hospitals pretty much, and then checking boxes the whole way. You're not actually out there practicing with the vigor that you like, especially as I see it, these young, motivated, energetic, bright minds coming out of school, like ready to get out there and attack the world. Specifically, we've gotten to know each other over the years. A mind like yours that is so robust and so wide open, and you have your hands in so many different aspects of health and fitness, elite performance, like general, population. There's so many things going on that one specific career track can be very limiting, self-limiting, unfortunately, but the ability to kind of touch each point along the way, I think that is important. And to really kind of, start adding those feathers to your cap for a wide range. I think as a practitioner perspective, I believe that it's important to have that wide range. So you can actually speak to the geriatric patient or the family that's assisting the geriatric patient, trying to get an extra 5, 8, 10 years out of grandmom, right? Trying to get her to the point that she can actually come to Disney World 1 or 2 more times and take part in that, get out of the wheelchair, but also working with the elite Olympian who's actually getting ready to shave, 0.3 seconds off their 40, which that's a 4-year journey right there for some athletes.
Or 6 now, since we canceled them.
Yeah, I know, right?
Insane. I can't imagine training for that amount of time for one, couple week period. And then, nope, got another year, maybe 2.
Well, maybe we'll touch on that stuff. We got a ton of questions here. I would love to get your thoughts a little bit more kind of pop culture, because I want to speak about fat loss.
Okay.
I want to speak about fad diets here, and there's been a little bit of not controversy. It's non-controversial in my opinion, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the calorie in, calorie out mindset versus the focus on high net nutrient intake. And I did a video last week where I broke down artificial sweeteners, and I actually pulled some studies off of Google Scholar, just inundated with studies on the negative effect of artificial sweeteners. We'll just kind of briefly jump into that. Yeah. And it's not a personal bias. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to drink red fruity flavored, beverages? Like, who doesn't want to have all these guilt-free, sugar-free pops and candies and all that stuff? Like, why would anyone be against that stuff? But when you really start to break down, you look at the data and you look at the ill health effects of these products. And that was the point that we took. And then you get these internet celebrities, YouTube celebrities, guys like Greg Doucette, who has a great YouTube channel. I'm not mad at the guy for being successful on YouTube, but he puts out so much bad information, false information, and in my opinion, damaging information that is so lowbrow. Like, I took the yellow stripe off of the white belt that I gave him. So now he's just straight back to white belt. He's in timeout. He's sitting on the side of the mat in the dojo, and he's watching everyone just drill the basics once again. And hopefully he pops in and we can educate Greg and all those who follow Greg in this conversation, where we know definitively there is no scientific debate that artificial sweeteners do have a negative impact on the microbiome. Now they're linking artificial sweeteners, primarily sucralose, to systemic inflammation that is rampant in the human body, which manifests originally in the digestive system, and we see negative ill effects there. But now science has also linked that to total body inflammation that manifests, physiologically speaking, differently for each person. Now, what will that be for you? To me, different, some similarities, some not. And again, there's more than enough data for everyone listening right now. Please do not take anything I say. If I scream loud, if I start screaming loud and I put on a string tank top and I have a cat crawling across my head, that does not add additional credibility. The louder I scream does not add additional credibility. So all I say is do your own research. Go to Google Scholar, as Lindsay had mentioned last time. Start researching negative effects of artificial sweeteners, sucralose or aspartame and acesulfame potassium and all these others. There's just a list. Go through that. You could see the severe negative health outcome. Now, I'm not saying that they cause cancer, though some studies do link certain artificial sweeteners to certain types of cancer. That's not a part of that. I'm not making that assertion yet, as I still think more science needs to come out. But there is a clear connection to artificial sweeteners and the digestive distress, we'll call it. And that's a broad term, but I think that's the most relevant term. But also they have shown sucralose specifically. Sucralose, when it was approved by the FDA, it was based upon scientific findings that said sucralose passes right through the body, and it is not held, it is not stored. It simply passes right through. Now we know that sucralose is actually absorbed by the body, and sucralose shows up a minimum of 2 weeks after last ingestion, which means there is an accumulation phase. And all these products, they have what's known as their GRAS rating, generally recognized as safe. So sucralose is a GRAS item, as I call it. And what does that mean? That means generally recognized as safe, and that's the way we should see these things. But the data that we showed on the last episode last week clearly said this information was not available. It was not reported. It was not considered by the FDA or the European Union when these products were actually approved for use. Well, maybe that was intentional. I don't know. It wouldn't be the first time things were selectively included or excluded from scientific research. But now we know definitively that it does have an accumulation phase. And we do know that there are certain thresholds that create ill health, manifest disease. So I'll pull myself out of that conversation. And what are your thoughts on the artificial sweeteners, and what I call the category of synthetic toxic chemicals masquerading as healthy food replacement options? And why not just eat real food? What is, and I don't believe you make this argument, But I don't understand the mindset of a guy like a Greg Doucette or some of the others. And I'm not bagging on just Greg. I might actually like Greg in person. I don't know the dude at all, but I do. If I called people out, man, there's a lot of stuff I could say if I wanted to make ad hominem attacks on humans. I certainly don't do that, but it's the ideology that we're really discussing here. And he's, certainly the most famous, I think, right now, but also he's the most egregious with respect to falsifying or misrepresenting these synthetic toxic chemicals and then pushing them into the community.
Yeah, it is just crazy. And we all know our phones and our computers listen to us.
Yeah.
So I swear, after we talked last week, all week long, anytime I opened Facebook, Instagram, whatever it may be, every single Facebook ad was a video of a guy talking. Here, answer these questions, DM me for a macro program. I'm like, how did this happen to me? So I swear it's just because my phone's sitting right here and it's listening to us. But it just goes hand in hand with the people that push those, template calories in, calories out program, because products like that don't have calories.
Yeah.
They have very minimal calories. So
yes.
Perfect. I could eat all of this if I want to, and it doesn't, stack up or raise, my quota of, proteins, carbs, fat, whatever it is for the day. So I think that's sort of where it all came from. And then you also have to look at the sham that is marketing and food marketing. I can't imagine the business aspect of that. Just how much money is made on these products that, are marketed as safe, scientifically are generally recognized as safe, but they're just wreaking havoc in your body.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things to be said about it. I think one of the major things is, okay, I have, a cup of diet soda or whatever. It doesn't affect you immediately. So you might feel like bloated or whatever, but health-wise, you can't feel or sense that you have systemic inflammation or whatever it may be until years down the line where you're like, oh, now I have arthritis.
Yeah. Or
something along those lines. So it's like this build-up effect that it doesn't really hit somebody until it's too late, almost.
And to that point, that is my concern and why I brought this study up that shows the accumulation of these ingredients where it's, a one serving size of Diet Coke. Well, that falls under the health and toxicity threshold. 2 cans per day. Well, what if I have the Diet Coke and I have some bread that also has sucralose, and I have a little bit of low calorie snack that has sucralose, and I have another additive that's in my dinner that has sucralose, and then I have a little bit more the next day and more the next day, because what I ate today is now being stored and accumulating. So at a certain point, the odds are that some people will hit these thresholds, and every human's threshold is slightly different. That's the fear and that's the concern, which is why I'm so public about it. So I'm sorry, Linz, continue.
No, yeah. And that you brought up another great point is that it's not just the obvious things. So diet soda, obvious.
Yeah.
Any other type of drink that has 0 calories, obvious. But you just mentioned bread and other things that people don't realize. There's all these products that have all these hidden ingredients in it. So in my mind, it's like, why would you educate somebody? And you see this all the time. You're like, okay, how to read a food label. So here's what you want to look for, blah, blah, blah. Why wouldn't you just eat stuff that doesn't have a food label on it? Right?
I agreed 100%.
The healthiest foods don't have food labels on them.
Yes.
Okay? So like your meat package or something like that might have a little sticker that's slapped on there, but it doesn't have stuff added to it.
Yep.
Like hormones and all that stuff is a different conversation, but fruits, vegetables, things like that, they don't have food labels on them. So that's the easiest way to go. But if you are going to buy something that's, prepackaged, everybody's a human. There's a grocery store full of prepackaged things.
Yeah.
It's just, paying attention to these total just garbage additives. So it's just crazy, but.
And most of the time, these synthetic toxic chemicals are added to replace calories, which is why, again, I push back against the CICO concept, calories in, calories out. If we only focus on calories in, calories out, we are no longer focused on the net nutrient capacity of each calorie. Our stance is healthful, whole foods or earth-grown foods, as you had just said. They don't have labels. They're literally born of this planet, hopefully in organically raised methodology, which doesn't mean necessarily it has a USDA logo on it. It's the way they were naturally raised. They were not chemically treated to the best of our ability to do so. And that's a whole nother context conversation. But we know definitively that healthful whole foods in season, in proximity to where they will be consumed, have the highest net nutrient capacity per calorie of any other food on the planet, including synthetic toxic chemically created foods. Therefore, why would we not? If we're going to count calories, if we're going to, manage our macros, why would they not be of healthful whole foods, of these earth-grown nutrients? Why are we then diverted to eat these synthetic toxic chemicals, frankenfoods, if you will, in the form of artificial sweeteners and 100-calorie cookie packs and Coke Zero or Diet Cokes and all of these other things, Mrs. Sugar-Free Mrs. Butterworth or maple syrup? Why are these being added and included when we know for a fact, and this is not debatable, we know definitively that there is a negative health impact from the consumption of these foods. And the more of these foods we consume, the more often we consume these foods, the level of toxicity actually increases. We know that. That's not an opinion. That's all scientifically based. That's all the facts that are all sitting out there. We know that. So then for me, that's where I get angry, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. I get angry at those who have platforms in the fitness industry. They have an audience. They have a place to speak, and then they push these synthetic toxic chemicals onto their audiences, which A, means they're freaking idiots and they just don't know any better, or B, it means they understand the science and now they're lying for personal gain. A or B doesn't matter. The fact is, you should not be listening to this person either way, whether they're just a nincompoop or they're a con man or a con girl that are just trying to steal people's money. It's bad information being put into the population. And that's why I get super passionate about it, as I sit here right now, and I still am.
Yeah. And you can even scale that up. I'm not psycho, but I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist. I just like to challenge things that I see,
Sure.
Whether it be politics, whatever it may be. I like to, do my research and look things up, figure things out. But it's well known that it's the government's fault. It is. It's the government's fault. It started with the food pyramid.
Yep.
And then it went into my plate. So all these people are like, oh, this website says .gov, so I should probably follow this information. No.
No.
Not cool. So people, this whole I don't know when it was, years back, it was the whole low fat thing. Eating fat's going to make you fat. Dumb. So everything that's marketed as low fat is still by our society deemed as healthy. When, as you said before, if you remove fat from a product, it doesn't just go away. It will taste like garbage if you remove all the fat from a product, and it's replaced with sugar and other additives. So if you look at the sugar content of a normal version of a product versus the low fat version of a product, way more carbs, bad carbs, and way more sugar. So instead of consuming good fats, now we're putting all of this sugar into our body. We're raising our triglycerides, causing atherosclerosis, heart disease, all this stuff. And we talk about being in a pandemic now. We've been in a pandemic called heart disease for ever, 100 years plus. Yeah. So it's just, that's what makes me mad, is the marketing of things. And it's like people just are trying to make money. And this is a tangent, but you've seen the insulin issue right now, the insulin prices.
Yes, which is criminal. They should all, I remember 20 years ago, insulin, you could walk into a local drugstore, get a bottle of insulin for $15.
Yep.
Now, how much is that? $1,000?
Yeah. So I'm just looking up, like I refresh my memory, just, reading about this topic, but depending on your size, so obviously if you're a larger person, you're going to need a little bit more insulin. And depending on how well you have your diabetes under control, you could be using 3, 5 plus vials of insulin per month.
Yep.
And if they're going for $200 and $300 a pop, it's over $1,000 a month. Who can afford that? Like, how are people going to survive as diabetics?
Here's a question, and maybe because I'm not sure. What is the kickback to the doctors who prescribe insulin? Are the doctors, the general, GPs, general physicians, or family physicians, or the endocrinologist, or whomever is actually prescribing this? I know many do, unfortunately, some outside of their scope for sure. But why I say this, because we have a family friend, and our family friend has been dealing with body weight issues for most of their adult life. And slowly in time, they developed pre-diabetes. And then they followed a meal plan. They lost all the weight. Then they got involved in a social circle that encouraged very savory food and savory eating. And slowly but surely, after a year or so, then the weight came back on, age kind of kicked in. And this is watching this, person over 20 years or so. Now they got to the point where they went from, pre-diabetes to type 2 diabetes to all of a sudden we went and had dinner and we found out that, wow, they're type 1 now. Really? Like, how did that happen? Oh, you're on insulin. And let's say it was 8 IUs per day. And that's, again, outside of my purview. So I don't know the specific recommendations, and I don't really get my hands too deep in that. So I have more of a peripheral understanding. But over the last year, their insulin dose was systematically quadrupled. So they went from 8 IUs to 16 IUs to 32 IUs. So that might be a little loose, but they have quadrupled in their insulin recommendation. And I said, did your doctor at any one time ask you what your diet was? No. Did your doctor ask you about your sleep patterns? No. Did your doctor ask you about your exercise? No. Did your doctor make any recommendations on any of these issues, or your stress levels, your work, your commute to work, any of these issues? No. Not one conversation was about that. And the last time they actually doubled this person's insulin without running blood work. And my wife and I were like, whoa, they didn't run blood. How are you? Why would you take that? When the doctor said so, the doctor said it's time. You had no blood work. No, you had no, to be clear, maybe you didn't know. And we're like, maybe you didn't know they did it, but she said, no, like literally nothing. I haven't had a needle in my arm for over a year. There's been no blood work done for over a year. She said, I think I'm due like in the summertime because of this person's health care. Completely blown away, and our strong, these are grown adults, right? Family members listen to us less than everyone else for sure. And what we said was like, listen, I would strongly suggest stay under your doctor's care, but go find another doctor. Absolutely. Get the second opinion, transfer your files, and get this second doctor to take a look and determine if this is right for you. And then ask your doctor how you can slowly start coming off these powerful pharmaceuticals. Yeah. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you to do anything, but I can tell you to find a doctor that will actually listen to you, will work with you to work with your lifestyle and slowly, because I said, what's the end result here? Mm-hmm. In a year, you've 4x'd your insulin dose. You've lost 0 weight. And in fact, she's put on 7 pounds in that period of time. So she's added body weight in that period of time. This is not a good outlook. So to your point, when you said that there's a conspiracy, there is. And I believe it's because of the 6-minute flip, right? Doctors have 6 minutes to work with each patient on average. So when you walk in, hey, doc, how are you? I'm doing good. That doctor, and run your stopwatch. Within 6 minutes, they're in and out of that office max because they got 100 other patients to see that day. what due diligence are they actually performing in that? And you need to find a doctor that's actually going to break that cycle. And they're out there. There's some amazing doctors out there, I will say. So I'm not just bagging on doctors. But unfortunately, because of the way the medical field is now, because of the way the insurance companies are now, because of the way the hospitals interact with health practitioners right now, Lindsay, you're a registered dietitian. You understand, you kind of work in those fields also. We have to take our health as our responsibility. Because your doctor simply says do X does not mean that's the final say. You really have to do your due diligence.
Yeah, I have, I guess, 2 points on that. Just in the broad sense, when we're talking about diabetes, like, I don't want to say this is the sole cause of diabetes because there's so many things, but if we have more circulating insulin, that means we had more circulating glucose. If we're normal functioning humans,
yeah,
our insulin levels are high, it means we just ate, a carb-rich meal where our glucose has increased. Okay, so insulin comes in, takes the glucose, stores it. If we introduce too much artificial insulin to people, it's going to lead to insulin resistance. So the more medical insulin that we introduce to people is just going to further increase their insulin resistance, in turn making their diabetes worse.
Yep.
So it just makes no sense in my mind. And not all doctors are bad, but you just hear these crazy stories. And this is my other little note here. My graduate assistant, he's very intelligent. He's planning to go to med school, and he's like on this mission to not be that doctor.
Yeah.
So he's had some, he's on testosterone therapy, and he suspected some thyroid issues. So he's like, I'm feeling sluggish, not feeling myself, whatever, I'm going to have my thyroid checked. So he goes to endocrinologist, gets his TSH tested, thyroid stimulating hormone. So pretty much if your TSH is high, that means your thyroid's underactive. So it's not functioning as it should be. And I can't remember the reference range off the top of my head. I should know this because I get this tested every 6 months. But so say whatever it was, his TSH level was 0.01 below the high limit of the range. So if it was beyond that, so if it was 0.1 more, he would have been put on medication. So his doctor said, "Oh, no, you're normal. You're in the range." And he said, and this is just his nature, because he knows the science and he knows the biochemistry and all this stuff. He said, "So do you actually look at, the individual, and do you put all the pieces together, or do you just look at a chart that has the reference range and it says good, and you just send them on their way?"
Ooh.
And I was like, wow, like he really challenged her.
Good for him. Yeah.
Well, she comes back and says whatever she says. And he says, "So what's the difference between you sitting here versus any other Joe Schmo that just has the reference range chart, and all they have to do is say, okay, if you're in the range, you're good. If you're outside of the range, here's your medication."
Yep.
So are we following, goes back, it's like an analogy here. Are we following a template, or are we listening to the person?
Yep.
Are we taking into consideration all the other things that he's speaking about, and are we figuring out the puzzle? So it's not just doctors, it's the same thing with nutrition professionals. Is it, okay, this person, whoever they may be, I don't care what their activity level is, I don't care what they do, here's how many calories you should eat for your body mass and your weight loss goal, here you go, see ya. Or do you sit down with them and figure out the whole picture of what's going on?
Yep.
Well, I just think that's an interesting point. And he comes back and he says, "Needless to say, I found myself a new endocrinologist."
And good for him. It's crazy that he actually, it's rare that people will actually step up and challenge their doctors with that type of statement, right, and call them or call their bluff, if you will. And what I say is, you wouldn't allow a carpenter into your house that acted like that was so dismissive of your needs, right?
Right.
That just, blah, blah, blah. They just kind of looked at the floor and they just go by and do their thing. Or someone who's going to build a deck on the back of your house. It's funny because we work with a lot of people right here. You and I and the team, we work with a lot of people. Most people will just blindly sit there and nod their head when their doctor talks and not even remember the conversation, just follow the script and go on about their day. But when they go to buy a pair of shoes, right? When they're like trying to find the best deal on like new drapes or a sofa or home improvements, Man, they're on Wayfair, they're on Overstock, they're on Amazon and Home Depot and Lowe's, and they're going back and forth, and they're looking at every little thing side by side, and this, that, and what's going to be best, and the whole freaking thing. When it comes to their health, they completely just glaze over and default. That's not the way it is. Doctors are people too. Doctors are busy. Doctors are stressed out. Doctors are fatigued. Doctors are tired. Some doctors are just plain dickheads. Yes. Some doctors are really good at taking tests and terrible at life, at everything else in life. Some doctors have massive hundreds of thousands of dollars in school debt. Some doctors are going through divorce and child custody, like, because they're human too. And I'm just saying, humanize them.
That's anyone. Yeah.
It's everyone. It's all of us. So really take the time and ask the questions, because like our friend, now she's shooting massive amounts of insulin into her body. Her diet hasn't really changed. It's a crap diet. Hasn't really changed. She's not eating more food, right? To really justify the massive increase. This doctor just looked at the chart. What if the doctor misread the chart that day? Mm-hmm. Because she had her daytime glasses on and not her nighttime glasses. Something as simple as like that, not intentional. I'm not saying doctors are trying to F people. I'm just saying they're busy, stressed out humans also, fallible. And if we just go down that rabbit hole with them and we just take everything they say is to be true, that's where people get hurt. But then I will say, look around. 76% of the American adult population is overweight or obese. The vast majority of them actually have a general care physician that they see regularly. Isn't that interesting? The majority of obese people and morbidly obese people, they go to their doctor constantly. For what? Well, it's just to manage their disease. It's to manage their condition. Most of the time, it's not to improve them or get them back to looking like you, Lindsay, or I, or the people that we work with, truly getting back to ultimate health and vital fitness. That doesn't mean that certain people don't have comorbidities. I have diabetes in my family. I have heart disease in my family. Like, that stuff is running around on both sides. My blood work is perfect because of the things that I do in my daily life. Not that I'm anybody special. I'm just super diligent. I understand what this is, and I take no medications. Right. I have I go to the doctors, I get the blood work done. We manage that. And to your point, we look at ranges. Am I low, medium, high? Am I high? Where do I fall in this range? Doc, how have I tracked over the last 36 months on this test? What are you talking about? I'm like, you're just saying I'm normal. Well, normal is compared to my last one. Am I trending upwards? What if 3 years ago I was low and 2 years ago I was medium and now I'm sitting here high? I'm still normal. You're saying I'm normal. You're not picking up that there's something happening here? Well, sorry, dude, you're fired. Time to move on to the next one. That's the way it has to be. So lots of ranting. We could go on and on. I know we have a ton of questions here, and I'd love to jump in with your questions. Everyone watching right now, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. And also, if you guys have not, we have a few spots left. We've opened up 5 spots to this weekend's Dolce Diet Certification and Fitness Conference. The pre-registration is sold out. We have confirmed Joe DeFranco is one of our guest speakers. Dr. Andy Galpin will be one of our guest speakers. We also, of course, have Professor Lindsay Howard, who will be teaching the lion's share of the nutrition and dietetics information, far better than I could certainly do myself. You don't want to hear this voice for 14 hours. So thank you, Lindsay. But click the link below, the Dolce Diet Certification and Fitness Conference. You will learn everything you need to know about nutrition and dietetics to get out there and educate the population, as well as how to build your business and build your brand. Click that link below. There's only a few spots left. That will likely sell out today, ladies and gentlemen. We sold out before we even were at retail price. So we figured, hey, we'll throw up retail price. We said that we'd allow a few more people in. We have a little bit of squeeze room to get a few people in. Someone usually always falls off, travel or something happens, this or that, kid gets sick. That's fine. So we'll have a few people available. Click that link below. Now, comments. And there's lots of love for Lindsay in here. So should I read all the questions, even when I think you have some admirers, Lindsay? Should I just skip over those, or should I don't want to, I want to be respectful of your, prestige as a professor and a duly certified academic. but there's lots of Lindsay love in the room right now, which is awesome.
Let it rip.
All right, let it rip. All right. Well, Ted Turner says, girl,
Oh my God.
thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. All right, we'll kick that one off. And that is a compliment in my part where I come from. So Ted Turner, are you like Ted Turner of Turner Broadcasting? Lindsay, you might want to.
Trying to look at that little picture there.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah. Oh, nice. All right, Ted, you might have a shot here, unfortunately, or fortunately or not. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. What else do we have? Jesse Lee, who is a Dolce Diet certified coach. He came through one of our previous classes. Professional fighter, says loves this segment. Much love to both of you, Jesse. We are happy you are here. Now, True Evolution Nutrition has a good question. Love y'all's last show. Thoughts on the Beyond Burger? I'm nervous that soy protein concentrate and soy protein isolate. All of my quote bros told me to stay away from soy. So Lindsay, what are your thoughts on the Beyond Burger? And is there any room for that in the average healthy person's diet?
I would say in the average healthy person's diet, no. If you are compelled or have a strong desire to practice a vegetarian diet, obviously you might want to look at a product such as this. I think there are plenty of ways to get protein in without going way over the top with, products like this. But this is a highly manufactured product. I'm not familiar, with the exact ingredients in here. Obviously, we know it's soy protein, and soy protein is extremely debatable. There's positives, there are negatives. So I don't know who the bros are, but I would not tell somebody to stay completely away from soy. But if you're having one of these for dinner every single night, that's not the best thing for you, in my opinion. And I would have to look at the ingredients specifically. But that's another area that there are so many products in that range. You go to Wegmans, there's like 3 full aisles of vegan, gluten-free, things like that. And again, it's different. So if you eat a normal healthy diet, if you're not a vegetarian, then you absolutely don't need to eat something like this. I recommend for vegetarian or vegan people, I don't know if Beyond Burger is vegan actually, but if you are struggling getting your protein in, okay, there we go. If you're struggling getting your protein in, you might supplement with something like this.
Yeah.
I'm just reading it real quick.
Yep. Make it a little bit larger for you. And here's the thing that I point to. The Beyond Burger is a replacement for a beef burger.
Exactly.
So it's like, what are you? Are you plant-based or are you not plant-based? And this is kind of annoying to me, is that the plant, and 90% of the ingredients that we suggest via the Dolce diet are plant-based, right? So the vast majority of the ingredients that we suggest are plant-based. They're from the plant kingdom, right? So yeah, we have some eggs and some chicken and some fish and some things such as that on our program, but we have the vast majority that come from the plant-based world. So that should be said by all the vegans who just got really pissed off at us for saying this. What I will say is, you are either a plant-based advocate eating real plant-based foods, or you're pretending. And things like the Beyond Burger, they are simply pretending to be a cheeseburger, a hamburger, a beef burger. That being said, pick or choose. Pick or choose. Now, we have amazing burgers. If you're a member of our online platform, there is a link below for that inside our recipe resource section, or if you own the Living Lean Cookbook, Volume 1 or Volume 2, we have a tremendous amount of vegan recipes. Why do I say that? I say that because you can make a burger out of black beans and hemp seeds and quinoa. We have these, mushroom meatballs. That's black beans and it's mushrooms and it's quinoa, and they are freaking phenomenal. They are not one of these frankenfood type substances. Now, if I'm having a family party in the backyard, maybe I'll have a couple Beyond Burgers sitting in the freezer for, my foo-foo yoga friends who come over and they want to have some fun. Sure, I'll throw some on there. Well, I'm not going to say a word about it. But in general, I'm not so upset about the soy as I am like, dude, if you're, and I got close friends and athletes that we work with who are 100% vegan. And I love them because their house looks like a greenhouse, right? They're eating real plant-based foods. I open their freezer and there's almost nothing in there. Everything they have is fresh. It's all fresh plant-based foods. And I would push you, if you are a plant-based advocate, that should be more in line with your lifestyle. It shouldn't be all these soy, tofu, frozen, tofurkey chicken, or, CHX and nuggets or whatever these things are, right? These pseudo animal-based foods. Like, there should be a disdain for it. So anyway, I don't know. You got anything else to add to that, Linz?
Yeah, I mean, it goes with gluten-free too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm going to go gluten-free to see if it will help, some GI issues or something like that. And you go in the grocery store and you look at all these gluten-free products. Most of them are way higher in calories. So like you get a bag of, I don't know, gluten-free pretzels or whatever. And everybody's always thinking, okay, it says gluten-free on there. It must be healthier.
Yep.
Well, it's not. You probably wouldn't eat half of that stuff if you weren't, quote, gluten-free.
Yep.
And the same thing, if you're talking about, if you flip through the Living Link cookbook, 95% of that stuff is gluten-free.
Yes.
Fruit doesn't have gluten. Vegetables don't have gluten. Meat doesn't have gluten. And that's like the bread and butter, so to speak. Bad choice of words there, but of what we preach food-wise. So I would recommend, if say again, we'll go back to the doctors here, but if somebody says, okay, you should maybe try a vegetarian diet for whatever your beliefs are, or try a gluten-free diet, that doesn't mean you have to buy products that are marketed to that specific diet. Same goes with keto stuff. Like all these packages, like keto friendly, what are they called, the pork little crunchy things. Disgusting.
Pork rinds.
Yes, pork rinds. Thank you.
100% keto approved. Yes, blueberries, on the other hand, they'll make you fat and give you cancer somehow.
Yes.
How's that work? And you know what? This is a great time for a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Certified Piedmontese. Go to Piedmontese.com and feed your family the same way I feed mine. Right now, use promo code DOLCE to save 25% on grass-fed, grass-finished beef with free delivery. That's Piedmontese.com. Piedmontese, baby. Piedmontese.com. Grass-fed, grass-finished, American-raised beef. Free delivery to your door. Orders over $99. Honestly, why go to the grocery store to get to get inferior meat at a higher price point when you can get grass-fed, grass-finished, high-quality, American-raised beef shipped right from Nebraska to your door? You don't have to get in the car. That's all I'll say. And we make no money off your use of that promo code. That's also something that's important. That is completely passed on to you. Now, moving on, Claude from France. What's up, Claude? Good to see you. Right on. Our buddy Henrik. Henrik will be at the DDC this weekend. Henrik from Sweden. What's up, guys? Out to boxing, but the time is always right to do, right? So I had to say, what's up? What's up, Henrik? Catch you up soon, my friend. Awesome. Now, Caitlin has a question. Thanks for the content. You got it, Caitlin. Former multi-sport athlete as well. Lost some muscle, definition, and weight and shape after high school, but maintaining increased strength. Thoughts on how to improve definition again? Running, maybe? What do you think, Lindsay?
Well, I definitely wouldn't recommend one thing. So not just running all the time. This is an interesting topic. I have this conversation a lot with mostly college athletes who have graduated, but in the athletics world, we pretty much call it that you have two deaths. One's your athlete death, and then one's when you actually die. When you're playing your sport, whether it was at the end of high school or the end of college, at the end of a professional career, it's this whole, and I know this is not your question, but I'm sure it's part of it, that you feel like this just weird sense of like, why am I working out anymore? What am I working towards? When your entire life you were training to get better at your sport, to be more in shape for your sport, to be leaner for your sport, whatever it was. Every time you walked into the gym, went out for a run, whatever it was, You had in your mind, okay, when I hit the court or hit the field or whatever, this is why I'm doing it. So it's this weird mental, psychological thing that a lot of athletes struggle with. And I know this isn't your question, but I'm speculating here. So it's this weird transition, and it's hard for a lot of people. So it's completely normal for when somebody stops playing sports or stops their career, ends their career, whatever, to see some changes. You go from being a young person, I don't know how old you are now, but a high school kid who's probably still growing and developing, you're at your practice, training, whatever it may be, for hours on end in a day, and then you just stop. So it's this weird transition. But my recommendation, so I'm trying to see, you maintain an increased strength but lost muscle definition. So I would recommend running, not all the time, but also doing some resistance training as well. So say you're going to exercise 5 days a week, I would say 3 days of resistance training, moderate to heavy weight, if you want to increase some of that definition, and then also some running. On the running path, that doesn't mean you have to go out and run 5 miles. That could be 40 minutes of, sprint for a minute, walk for a minute, sprint for a minute, walk for a minute. So doing some sort of interval. And cardio doesn't only have to be running. Okay, so you could do, you could hit a rower, you could do some burpees, any other cardiovascular activity that gets your heart rate up in an interval type fashion. So that's what I would recommend. If you want to go out and do, 2-mile run, trying to go as fast as you can, that's certainly a quick and an easy workout. But as far as muscle definition, definitely hit the weights. I'm trying to think of rep range here. I would say probably 8 to 10 reps, 3 to 5 sets. I like to exercise in a circuit fashion. So, you do a chest, a back, full body, chest, back, shoulder, quad dominant, glute dominant. So just run through 5 exercises, 3 sets, you're in and out maybe 45 minutes. Okay, so you're going to get your heart rate's going to be elevated throughout your workout. Also going to be working on that strength and definition, and then also the running. And last thing I will mention, because I know, Mike, you'll like this, hit some lists in the morning.
Hit some lists.
Hit the lists.
Most people, they step right over the most obvious and easy, thinking, oh man, if I want to make progress, then I better suffer. I got to hurt. I got to struggle. When in reality, they are neglecting the most important energy system, which is their aerobic system. Not that the aerobic system isn't activated in other aspects of your day, but it's not targeted. We've seen dramatic improvement to our elite athletes by simply slowing them down and getting them outside and walking. People are like, oh, well, hit is better. High intensity interval trainings. And we say, well, you do kickboxing and you wrestle and you do kettlebell training and you lift weights and you run sprints. How much hit can you do? That's hit also. So you're way overweighted on the high intensity work, and you're completely underrepresented in the low intensity work, which is important. And to Lindsay's point, we suggest fasted lists, which simply means the absence of insulin. And why is this? This is because in the absence of insulin, lipolysis is improved in more stubborn areas of the body, simply because the alpha and beta receptors can more optimally interact. That's it. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, Dolce doesn't know what he's talking about because calories in, calories out. I can burn more calories in the same amount of time going high intensity. That's not the point. The point is we're simply taking advantage of a insulin repressed state, which improves efficiency of the alpha beta receptors with regards to unlocking that stored fat. And most of the time, the stubborn area, and it's the targeted stubborn areas, we're just getting them to work optimally in line with the other fat. So this is not spot reduction either. We all have those lagging lower belly fat, love handles, kind of guys have the lower pec line. Ladies kind of have the excess accumulation maybe on the upper triceps, kind of outer back range, side of the thighs. Those areas are improved. Whoa, Lindsay, changing on us, are improved as a result of lists. So we certainly add that in there. Now, Lindsay, I don't know if you can hear us. I see your screen is changing. Oh, there she is. Bam, you're back.
I was just taking you on a little field trip.
Oh, we appreciate the screen went dark on us, but I appreciate that. All sorts of new backgrounds. I see your ponytail in the background. Oh, poop. There, I like this.
I was just showing you a little research poster back there. We actually did this the last 3
We
semesters.
didn't see it, by the way.
What's that?
We did not see the poster. It froze on us.
Well, I won't go back over there. Wi-Fi.
Oh, you're SOL, Dolce. Nice.
But no, and we use a $30,000 piece of equipment to specifically measure. You know, I had half my class come in fasted, so nothing tonight. They came in at like 9 a.m. Other half is fed. They had something for breakfast, and then the next week they switch. So everybody does it fasted and fed. So we just had them walk for like 45 minutes on the treadmill, and we could specifically measure respiratory exchange ratio, which tells us how much oxygen we are metabolizing, which tells us if we're using carbohydrates or fat. And it was consistent across the board. Everybody that was fasted is burning a significantly more amount of fat to fuel that exercise bout than they were carbohydrates. Or when they were fed. So, I mean, the science is there.
The science is there. It's so funny that I've been saying this, 10 years at least, right? Everybody really does associate list training with us. We're not the ones who invented it. We certainly have made it popular, I think, over the last decade within our spectrum of people who listen to us. We speak about lists all the time. A lot of the meatheads yell and scream and say it doesn't matter, that faster fed doesn't matter. But here you are, a scientist with the diagnostic machines and testing available who clearly indicate this. There's just, reams of scientific literature that support this, right? Certainly, your team is not the only team to have proven this. We know this, and it's like the whole sucralose and artificial sweetener thing. This science is there. We know it's there. We're just pointing at the science. This is not opinion based. So when we say, hey, employ fasted lists to maximize your fat burning campaign. Fasted lists, yes. Fed resistance training, yes. Post-fed resistance training, cardiovascular activity, yes. Like, you do that too. Like fasted or fed hit, like a fasted hit, maybe once a week or so, 20 minutes at a time. That starts, in my opinion, to invade our recuperation ability. Also, it inhibits our other activities. I think it would be more beneficial to train harder in the sport of choice or resistance targeted training of choice instead of a fasted hit. That I could say, hey, that's a little more anecdotal, opinion based, but what I've seen over 20 plus years, fasted lists, awesome. Mm-hmm. Fed high intensity training, awesome. Simply because we can hit higher highs, right? A lot of people, and here's another great, conversation for you. And we're going to get back into the questions here. What we see is in fed glycolytic training, high intensity training, and that can be resistance or even cardio, we will see higher highs progressively. If we perform these fasted, we will see higher lows, or I should say lower highs, progressively. All of a sudden, you can't quite go as far for as long in a fasted state. Duh, that makes a perfect sense. It's a glycolytic activity. We're completely fasted going into it. We're going to bonk out. Yes, we can keep moving on. And yes, we can train our fat burning system. We can start pulling fat as the primary fuel source very inefficiently. So we can possibly convert more glucose, right, to fuel this event, but it's going to be inferior. Why not hit and what we say is we just want to hit PRs. If progressive overload and adaptation is the goal here, why would we perform fasted hit or fasted hurt, high intensity resistance training? Why would we do that? That doesn't make sense. Can you do that? Sure, you can do that, but why? That doesn't make sense as far as really pushing those chains down the field with regards to fat loss and body composition. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I would say generally anything of higher intensity, definitely eat. 100% eat. You're going to feel like crap. And if you plan to work out for an hour, 30 minutes in, your effort level and your like perceived exertion is going to tank.
Yep.
And you're getting less out of it. And the other thing I think people, and even myself a couple of years ago, like it took a while for me to jump on the list train.
Yep.
But it's because you associate lists with like the bodybuilder at the gym that's walking on an incline on the treadmill for like an hour and a half. And you're like, oh, it's such like a bro thing to do. And I also think people are like, oh, if you're doing low intensity fasted cardio or steady state cardio, that's not the only thing you're doing. So I think a lot of the naysayers or the skeptics, yes, they're right in saying, no, you're not going to burn a significant amount of body fat if all you do is walk on a treadmill for 30 minutes a day in a fasted state. You're not. It's a combination of things.
Yep.
And it's a really good tool for a lot of people that, people hit like a plateau in their training and their fat loss. And this is a good thing to introduce to just kind of bring it over that hump a little bit.
That's it. And it's the totality of the program. That's what we really want to push to. You can't go hard every day. But you can walk almost every day. And walking is restorative, right? We're getting ample blood flow. We're removing some of the metabolic waste of the high intensity training of the day before. We're bringing new, fresh nutrients into that generalized, localized area as far as getting heart rate up and flushing the whole body without becoming fatigued once again. God, we can't go hard all the time every day. And I see athletes, these meathead athletes, who that's what they want to do. I'm going to go hard. I'm going to train twice a day, 7 days a week, and I'm going to go hard. Yeah. Contact me day 4. Let's see what happens. Oh, coach, I'm shot. Yeah, you're shot. Now we got to take 2 days off just to get back to ground zero. You just blew a week. Instead of kind of, employing a more well-rounded program. Awesome. Let's jump into Stacy Orsini. What's up, Stacy? Good morning, guys. Protein requirements and food suggestions for my 12-year-old son playing lacrosse. Lindsay, do you have any experience with the youth, let's say, or are there any specific guidelines for this age group? This is an interesting age group, by the way, because hormones are just about to pop off.
A 12-year-old boy is really difficult because some 12-year-old boys look like they're 17. Some 12-year-old boys look like they're 7.
Yeah.
So I've had a couple in like the 12, 13-year-old range, just personal training clients. But I've worked a lot with high school athletes. And same thing, some high school freshmen look like men and some look like 9-year-olds.
Yeah.
So it's a different recommendation depending on, what stage of development you're in. But food suggestions, protein requirements, I think if you're following just a generally healthy diet and you have a protein source at every meal, it's going to be enough for a 12-year-old. As years progress, and again, this is a controversial age because we get into the topic of when should you start resistance training? Is 12 too soon? Should you wait till you're fully developed? All this stuff. So, again, if you have a protein source at every meal, I think that's going to be enough for a 12-year-old, for a growing kid. But just focusing on, again, high quality food sources. So, lean meats, eggs in the morning, things of that nature. And just making sure after, you play a game, or I know, especially at this age, you can have a tournament on the weekend where you're playing 4 games in a day. So making sure that you're getting something to eat in between those games. You're going to feel better during the game. You're going to recover a little bit faster. And I know this is not food, but water. Definitely make sure you're hitting that hydration, even if it's just practice. I think hydration practices should be implemented at a young age so that they carry on for an athlete's, career. But no, I think it's kind of general for a 12-year-old. It's not like they're, training for a certain physique or, training for the Olympics or something like that. So just making sure they're properly fueled and they can recover.
Yep. Those are great points. And Stacy, I would also suggest the elimination of synthetic toxic chemicals, the elimination of processed sugars. Getting the garbage out of their diet will have a greater net return than worrying so much about 28 grams or 35 grams of high quality protein at every meal. And I think cultivating that healthy lifestyle or the healthy habit with relationship to food will go a long way. My own story, I started high school at 114 pounds. I looked much more like a 9-year-old than a 19-year-old. I graduated high school at 210 pounds. I look like a 39-year-old instead of a 19-year-old. I was freaking a jacked wrestler at that point. You know, I was bigger than a lot of the college guys that we were wrestling with at that time. So that 4 years was pivotal. And during that period of time, I could not get enough food into me. It was really like late freshman year into summer. I think I came back sophomore year at 152, junior year like 174, and then graduated at 210, right? So I started adding like 20 some odd pounds a year. I grew a few inches during that period of time also. And I started lifting weights, me personally, at 12 years old. Now, I'm not saying that your son is ready, not knowing him personally, but I would say calisthenics and gymnastics type of work. He plays lacrosse, so he's already a contact athlete, and that does matter. So he's used to that body-on-body contact. He likely requires greater amounts of protein as a result of the contact nature. I played lacrosse also for a few seasons. That's a hard sport. There's lots of running, lots of sprinting, lots of body contact too. But I'd say like 4 balanced meals throughout the day and then slowly scaling in time. And to Lindsay's point, making sure you have protein at every meal in moderate amounts in recipes that he enjoys. And then as his body weight starts to change, then you look to slowly scale. And I always look towards, because we work with a lot of youth athletes over here also, we always look for our youth athletes to be at a slight caloric surplus, never at a deficiency, because they're in a growth phase, right? Their bodies are continuously and rapidly growing, and we don't want to be depriving them of nutrients. But I'm not so concerned about total calorie intake. Calorie intake is representative of the vital micronutrients that are necessary, the calcium, the magnesium, the phosphorus, and all of the other kind of the hidden tier that nobody discusses. So just keep that in mind. But Stacey, I know your husband, you guys are also super fit and hardworking. I mean, what a great family. So you're certainly cultivating the right habits in your home, and just kind of analyze as your son starts to change and grow, just start adding just a little bit more size to his plate as he continues.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good age to start teaching your kids to listen to your body. Yeah. And I know, depending on what type of parent you are, it's like, here's your plate and you're not getting up until you finish that plate. So I think 12 years old, you get a little bit more autonomy. You start making a little bit more decisions. You're still a kid, but you're almost a teenager, so you're growing up. So I think it's important for kids to listen to their body and say, well, I'm really full, so why would I finish my plate? Or I'm still hungry, could I have more?
Yeah.
So just listening, it's this whole different topic of intuitive eating. But as you say and you preach, you not eat till you're full, but eat till you're satisfied. So I think that's a good age to start teaching your kids some cues, as far as, okay, you don't have to eat if you're not hungry. Yeah. But if you're still hungry, yes, you could have some more food. So yeah, like you said, it's a growth and development phase. And especially teenage boys, they could eat a lot of food.
Crazy.
So it's probably going to be more so on the, can I have another serving, than I'm not hungry.
Yeah. And I would say, and kind of weight the servings, kind of protein first.
Yep.
So they're getting the protein that's in there, and then kind of like, all right, adding the mashed potatoes or whatever it might be also, but having them ask for more of the, not lower quality food sources, but I want to make sure we're getting all the essential amino acids through high quality proteins in first. With that typically comes good amounts of essential fats, which are also necessary. We're getting lots of green leafy vegetables and roughage into the recipe. So please, be aware of that. This is where like chilies and pasta sauces really help. Stews and such, kind of meatloafs. I love meatloaf as a kid, by the way. Some people didn't. But all right. So Stacey, I hope that's helpful. Now we have another one. Joe says, Dolce Professor Lindsay Howard is hot. Single. Uh-oh. Ready to mingle, everybody. Be polite, ladies and gentlemen. Do not disrespect Professor Lindsay Howard. As amazing as she is, we have high criteria over here, and I will vet every one of your potential candidates if that's okay. Lindsay, I will be your buffer and break some knees if necessary. I'll be your big brother in this, by the way.
All right.
Also, and she's smart too, ladies and gentlemen. But can you cook, Lindsay? That's the question.
I love cooking.
Oh, triple threat. Bam.
Love
Done
it.
deal. All right. Uncomfortable silence. Let's keep moving. This is awesome. Let's see. Oh, all right. Derek has, when in a calorie deficit of 500 to 750 calories, my sleep suffers. Any thoughts or advice? I'll let you go first, Lindsay. I'm going to bite my tongue for a moment.
Well, your sleep's going to suffer if you're depriving your body of that many calories. That's what I'm going to say.
Bam. You're dying.
Yes. You're like, screw you. I can't do my normal function, so I'm going to keep you awake.
Yeah. Wake up and go find food, idiot. That's what your body's saying. Wake up and eat. Why are you, at a 500 to a 750 calorie deficit? And Derek, we're not mad at you. We're just having some fun here. We're not chastising you. We just want you to rethink this. Now, are you creating a caloric deficit through deprivation? Or are you creating a caloric deficit through exertion? What does that mean? That means if I need to take in 3,200, or if I'm taking in 3,200 calories a day or so, I'm not going to reduce to 2,500 and then 1,800 and then 1,100 as I stage through a 12-week weight loss program. What I'm going to do is I'm going to increase my energy output to create a net deficit, but also I'm going to be focused more on the replication of lean, functional, healthy muscle tissue. I'm going to focus on my sleep schedule because did you know what? If you're not sleeping optimally, you're not going to be burning body fat optimally. And in many cases, you will actually store additional body fat through disrupted sleep. So you creating a fat loss program of a caloric deprivation, 500, 750 calories, you're actually going to become skinny fat as a result of this and will likely be breaking down lean, healthy, functional muscle tissue, storing body fat, maybe even increasing total body fat percentage.
Yeah. So my simple advice here would be to, if you're going to be in a caloric deficit, don't be in that much of a caloric deficit.
Yeah.
So go smaller and try to create the deficit by, like Mike said, exertion rather than depriving yourself of nutrients.
Yeah.
Okay. We all need a ton of nutrients just to function throughout the day. And you don't want to tell your body that, no, I'm not giving this to you, even though you need it. So that would be why you're experiencing that sleep issue.
You know what? Click the link below for our online weight loss program at thedolcediet.com. The number one complaint of that program is there is so much food here. Do I have to eat all this food? That's the number one question that comes through our client support team. Do I have to eat all these meals? Do I have to eat all this food? The number two complaint is I have to buy all new clothes because everything's hanging off me. Consider clicking that link. These are micronutrient dense foods. We're maximizing your total nutrient intake at an appropriate caloric ceiling. What we do is we run a concurrent calorie and carb cycle during this 21-day period. So we will slightly dip you down, but we will bring you back up. And mostly, Derek, you might want to consider, and this is what I would do, I would focus on playing with my carbohydrates more so than just dramatically reducing calories. And to Lindsay's point, I agree. Let's see how dropping your calories by 100 over the course of a week and being more diligent with your sleep and managing your stress levels and making sure you're hitting your meals at proper intervals when you're supposed to. Are you tracking your workouts in a journal? Are you ensuring progressive overload? Are you training intensely but intelligently? These are the areas I would discuss. Also, when was the last time you had your blood work checked? Right? Let's see. Let's see what is your thyroid function like? It's funny. This is as an aside. Lindsay, we got a lot of people who come through here, primarily ladies for whatever reason, but the data supports that thyroid dysfunction seems to be more associated with women for whatever reason, and even in certain age categories. But we've seen women diet themselves down to like no calories and be so miserable on the scale and their body, and they're just so upset. And then we say, hey, let's get some blood work done. And we find out they have an underactive thyroid. So no matter what they do anyway, nothing's going to work. They might as well just ate maintenance calories and trained 3 times a week and got good sleep. And they probably would have seen almost better, or at least they would have felt a hell of a lot better. But getting your blood work done consistently, I think, is important to rule out. Now, this isn't every single case, but this has happened more often than I think one would suggest.
Mm-hmm. That is fairly common. Thyroid issues are very common, and people don't think of that. I mean, sometimes people are like, "Oh, it must be my thyroid. It has to be my thyroid. It can't be my lifestyle."
No.
So yeah,
I'm big boned.
Yeah. On one hand, it's like, okay, maybe you are just making excuses, and you actually hope that you have a thyroid issue so that you can take medication to increase your metabolic rate. But a lot of times, it's really just your lifestyle. So it is fairly common, and I would suggest people just get regular blood panel, even micronutrients too.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. So we know vitamins, minerals are huge for energy. B vitamins, but really all vitamins play a role in very, very crucial things. That's why they exist. That's why they're in healthy food. So putting like a micronutrient panel completed to see if you're deficient in anything, and not jumping to a supplement to fix that issue, but making sure that you're eating foods that contain those specific micronutrients.
Yep. That's why we always speak about micronutrient density is the most important aspect of any program. Yes, we will get to calories eventually, right? But if you do not have micronutrient dense foods, your macros don't matter. And I use the analogy that your micros are the nails and the screws that hold the lumber together. The lumber are the macros, like the lumber and the copper pipes. That's the macros. Without the proper screws and nails to hold that together, it doesn't matter. You're going to be a broken mess. Let's answer this one. All right. So, and there's a bunch more questions we're going to try and rip through. We're going to get a little faster here because I know we're getting short on time. Lindsay, I don't want to overkeep you here. Thank you for donating your time to us today. Cole says, how can you properly diet without constantly worrying about macronutrients and calorie intake?
Yeah, my major suggestion would just be clean it up overall. Clean it up. Again, focusing on whole foods, healthy whole foods that are nutrient rich. My suggestion, first and foremost, what we mostly see is people not taking in enough vegetables. If you increase your vegetable count or total in your day,
yep.
One, you're going to hit a lot of those micronutrient goals, but they're also going to fill you up big time. Vegetables don't have a lot of calories in them, and you could eat a big plate of vegetables and be very full, very high in fiber, things like that, where you don't have to spend your day counting calories, weighing your food or calculating your macro percentages and things like that. So that's my first kind of tip there, is just clean it up.
I agree. Nothing to add to that. I agree. And Cole actually asked a follow-up question saying, what can I do with my blood work results considering I have no idea what those results actually mean, such as thyroid and cholesterol? And Cole, that's a great question because you can click the link below to work with us, work with Lindsay, work with myself. You might want to schedule a one-on-one consultation. And I would say Lindsay would be ideal for this, to go through and walk through your blood work with Lindsay, where she can help you understand what these mean, but also help you determine what will be the best lifestyle moving forward, or also what questions you can then go back and ask your doctor. Mind you, this is not medical advice, but Lindsay is a licensed registered dietitian. She does have the authority to go through blood work, to discuss many of these issues, to discuss any medications and contradictions that you may or may not be on, and work as a liaison between yourself and your medical team. That is something I strongly recommend, and you can simply click that link below. And I love the fact that you're getting your blood work done, Cole, and that you're at that next stage where you want to know, hey, what does this actually mean? And what can I do to A, improve it, or B, maintain my current level of health? So good for you.
Yeah.
Let's see what we have here. Boom, boom, boom. Answered that. Let's see. And now I'm not really reading these questions. I'm just clicking on. This is a big one. 42-year-old lost 80 pounds on keto 2 years ago and gained it all back in a year and a half, renovating a house and a full-time trucking job. Could do keto again, but told might be dangerous for my brain. What for me? Briefly, I will say it's unfortunate that these exclusionary, restrictive, fad dietary practices do not teach long-term applicable habits that will help you. Now, there's no reason if you lose 80 pounds following a healthful lifestyle plan that you would ever gain it back. And what I would assume, if you were following our program and our principles, you could lose the 80 pounds on our 12-week program. It's very common to see people lose 40 pounds in the 12 weeks on our Living Lean bundle, which is, again, clickable down below, or working one-on-one, let's say, with Lindsay through the 8-week My Diet program, losing 20, 30, 40 pounds or more. We have scores and scores of people that have lost far in excess of 100 pounds working with our team and have kept it off, because we use the sexy sizzle and athletic performance and the beach booties and the ripped abs. We use that as a Trojan horse concept to teach you healthy lifestyle habits that you can use for the rest of your life without us. We teach you how to look at food, develop a relationship with food, how to better understand what foods work best for your body, how to plan your plate, how to eat on the road, how to eat until satiety, or eating until satisfied, but not until you're full, which is where you then enter into a caloric surplus. We teach you what foods are right for you and what to avoid. We provide nutrition education. We do not simply say, don't eat anything from this category and you'll be fine, because you know definitively the ketogenic diet does not work for the vast majority of the human population. The ketogenic diet's been around for over 100 years. We've known about it. It's very popular in the 1920s or so. It's come and gone into the public square many times over the last 100 years, specifically over the last 40 years. And it never sticks around for more than about 24 to 36 months, because people just, exactly what happened to you, Jerome. People go on it and they're like, oh yeah, I lost weight because A, I'm entering into a dramatic caloric deficit. B, because now I'm eliminating a lot of the processed foods I was previously eating, though you tend to replace them with others. And C, because of the dramatic water depletion from eating no non-glycogen retaining foods, right? So we see a lot of that happen. And then what happens is you bounce. And Jerome, you've bounced out of a disordered eating program so far into God knows, and you haven't said what you've done, but I would assume the traditional American diet. And that's unfortunate. So what we do, and I'll let Lindsay jump in here, we just teach you how to eat healthful whole foods in wide variety that are locally sourced and easy to prepare, and you can get them anywhere. I just, a Hollywood client I'm working with right now. He's like, man, I got to go out to this big fancy dinner. I don't know what to do. We said, lean, green, and clean. Lean proteins, green vegetables, clean burning carbohydrates. What does that mean? That means baked, broiled, grilled chicken, steak, or fish. A big old pile of green veggies. I love sauteed spinach with garlic, sauteed in water, not in oil. I love that on the side of my plate. What do you have? You have a baked potato, no sour cream, no bacon bits, no cheese, baked potato on the side. Bam, I'm done. Easy. Give me a little side salad or something else. Grilled asparagus with some sea salt on there. You can go to a Ruth Chris or any famous fancy steakhouse. You could eat just like this, or a local fishery or whatever. I've gotten this meal in the Sao Paulo airport, waiting on stuck in an airport for 2 days. I didn't break my meals. I didn't break my diet. It becomes very easy. Now, if I was on a keto program, man, I'm walking around, I'm eating zero sugar, artificial sugar sweetened Coca-Colas, right? Because that's what they say. Go ahead, Lindsay. Sorry.
I was going to say, and a side of bacon. And
a side of bacon and a bag of pork rinds. Why not? Because it's got zero carbs, and carbs make you fat, give you cancer, and kill you, right? That's what they say.
That's the scariest part about the keto diet, is that anybody, regardless of who you are, if you start a ketogenic diet, you're going to lose weight. You will lose weight.
Yep.
whether it be 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 80 pounds, depending on how long you're on it. And I think that's why it's so attractive to a lot of people, is that, okay, their friends like, oh, I just started keto. I've been on it for 7 days. I lost 6 pounds. So people are like, wow, this must really work. It's so easy. I could have a cheeseburger. I could have this, and in a sense, it doesn't seem exclusionary until you get into it further, until you are stuck in an airport or you're, wherever it might be, if you're traveling or something like that, or at a family cookout. Yeah, I'll have a burger, no bun, something like that.
Yep.
But it's not sustainable. You can't eat like this for the rest of your life. And it comes back so quickly. As soon as you start to reintroduce carbs, it's like if you were cutting, it's like weight cutting. If you eliminate carbs, yes, every single human will lose weight. You store water where you store carbohydrates. So if you eliminate carbohydrates and you deplete your glycogen, yes, you're going to lose weight. But as soon as you reintroduce carbs and fill those glycogen levels back up, that weight comes back.
Yep.
So I think that's why it's so, popular and attractive to a lot of people, because yes, you will lose weight, but you're not going to be able to sustain it. Like this individual in a 1.5 years time. And what 80 pounds lost and then put back on a body does is so horrible for you. Even if it's 20 pounds, you lose 20 pounds, put 20 pounds back on, lose 20 pounds, put 20 pounds back on. It's yo-yo dieting.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people get themselves in trouble.
Yep. And that's you're so spot on with that, Lindsay, in that it's the yo-yo, it's jumping on and jumping off. It's the hard 180-degree turns.
Yep.
With us, with our system. And again, we've been doing this. 1997 is when I started in earnest running this business. So we're talking about 24 plus years. 1993 is when I started getting paid to do this, right? So this is, I don't even know, don't even say your age, Lindsay. You've not even been around at this point. I'm not kind of hard doing the math right now. But
what year did you say?
93.
I was around.
You were around? Yeah.
For 3 years.
I was going to say, could you walk on your own? All right. 3 years old. All right. That's funny. So that being said, this whole concept is slow and steady progressions, scalable results. We don't make any dramatic changes. Day one, let's start cleaning up the crap. Like Lindsay said earlier to one of our questions, let's start cleaning up the crap. Let's just clean out your diet. Let's stop eating all the bad stuff. Let's stop the bleeding. Let's plug up the holes in the boat. How about that? No more synthetic toxic chemicals. No more processed sugar. No more late night potato chips and Tostitos and queso and ice cream. And let's kind of take a week and let's get all that crap out of our house, right? Let's start making better decisions. Let's start drinking more water. Let's drink almost all water, mostly water, fresh brewed teas, black coffees throughout your day. Let's get that implemented. Now, let's start thinking about our plate. Let's start eating about the same size meals at about the same time throughout the day. Let's pick foods that you actually enjoy, that are tasty, but also are born of this planet, that they don't have any labels associated with them. There's no ingredient list, other than exactly what it is. Jasmine white rice. People are like, but rice is processed. Oatmeal's processed. Like, we're really playing with semantics here, for sure. Technically, any food that comes to your house is processed. Even the hunter that goes out and takes down the elk or the deer, that actually has to be processed also. So we're talking about these wild-caught, earth-grown, earth-born foods. Once we get closer to that, we develop this lifestyle, and we're going for a walk in the morning a few times per day. We're getting our heart rate up in intervals, whether it's swinging kettlebells or literally just sitting down into a chair and standing up and sitting down and standing up 20 times. If that's where your scale is and that's where you're starting, good for you. You're getting to bed 9 hours before you're supposed to wake up. You're blocking your crazy ex-girlfriend or your horrible boss who keeps bothering you or whatever it is. You're getting all that stress out of your life. This is where progress is made. Notice I haven't mentioned one thing about calories or macros. Has nothing to do with that. There's so much work that needs to be done before you get to the A phase. And the A phase is where we then start to focus on dialing macros and we start to hit these different carb cycles. Then we think about maybe sprinkling in a little creatine monohydrate, maybe, or spiking our whey isolate intra-workout. That's like the last little tiny bit. But there's no need for the average person to do that. Certainly, if you're 80 pounds overweight, let's get you down 60 pounds before we really start implementing these. And again, guys, we have all this down below. Just click the link below for our online weight loss platform. They're 100% money back guarantee. If you get in and you don't like it, there's a 25% discount right now, promo code TRANSFORM. This program kicks ass. It's amazing. If you're confused about it, what to do, what to eat, how to eat, and you want to eat all healthful whole foods, you don't want to count calories and worry about macros, just get started. Let us teach you how to do this. Plus, we support you in the process, of course. Jesse Lee asks, how do I become a DDC level 2 trainer? Well, number one, Jesse, you've already gone through the level 1 certification, and anyone who's interested, there is a link below for that. This weekend is the next level 1, but we're looking to host our level 2 certification event in Chicago later on this spring. Nick L., who is a member in great standing on this channel, runs a beautiful, massive facility where we have a classroom, which is a stadium seating inside the classroom. Lindsay, you will be very comfortable in that, but you'll probably be more comfortable on the gym floor. Beautiful gym floor, super equipped. It's like a college. It's like a college campus, actually. We have a hotel. We have shuttles that'll be taking all of our students back and forth. So we're building this right now. You must be a level 1 in order to test the level 2. That's one of the things. If you do not have an understanding of nutrition, then in our opinion, you cannot move on to the fitness trainer phase. And that's what our level 2 is. So Jesse, we're waiting on the pandemic. And of course, we're going to follow all the relevant rules of local jurisdictions and not make anyone uncomfortable. We're hoping for international travel. We have a pretty big international audience. We know a lot of people will want to come in. That's why Chicago works out great, because it's 30 minutes from O'Hare. I mean, one of the largest international airports in the world. So that's all coming, just so you're aware. Let's do a couple more questions before we get out of here. Let's see. Sad die. Answer that. LaCroix. Is LaCroix good or bad for you? Or Zevia? I take those soda water because it seems like the best healthy choice than Diet Coke. Do you have any information or feedback on any of these kind of naturally sparkling water? I know it's a relatively new category and there's new propping up all the time.
I actually, every now and then I will have like a LaCroix, or sometimes I just do like Wegmans brand seltzer water, but I don't rely on it.
Yeah.
I don't drink it all day, every day. Every now and then I'll have one, but usually, obviously just water is the best choice. Even if you throw, I know some people like that carbonation. And if this is a way for you to stop drinking soda, go for it. Do it. Like if you're going to choose this over soda, then yes. If you don't normally drink soda and don't crave carbonation, I wouldn't suggest adding it into anything. But I'm actually not familiar with the second product, Zevia. But LaCroix, I know, is just, a naturally flavored seltzer water. So other suggestion I might have, again, if you don't need that carbonation kind of craving, is just throwing some fruit into your water just to flavor it up. I know people get bored with water, and it's far better than getting any of those like powders or whatever it is squirting into your water. Just put some fruit in there. But no, I don't think it's bad for you. No.
Yep. And I do agree with that without knowing the specific topic, but the category of a traditional sparkling water, I'm a fan of Pellegrino, like glass bottled Pellegrino is great. In the summertime, we typically have that. And to your point, Lindsay, we add fresh fruit to that. Usually we'll squeeze some fresh lemon or lime into that, and it's amazing. And it's funny because you go to the restaurant, you're paying $4, $6, $8 for a glass of that, right? Where you can get it for almost pennies on the dollar to have in your home. I do lean more towards that Pellegrino, which is just a straight mineral water, sparkling mineral water. But again, not every meal, not every day. And some people, they have a digestive issue because of the carbonation. So it has to be right to, just like we say with coffee and some teas. make sure it suits you, make sure it's enjoyable, and just keep it on the list. Is it better than a diet soda? Absolutely, absolutely. But also be careful, because some of those in the healthy category have some hidden ingredients there also, where they're hiding as a 0 calorie refreshing healthy beverage, and they're inundated with preservatives and synthetic toxic chemicals, artificial sweeteners and such. So always be aware of that.
Yeah, I will say really quick on this topic, there are sparkling waters that are marketed that are just aspartame. So it tastes very sweet. It tastes like Sprite, something like that. Stay away from that. LaCroix tastes like plain seltzer water with like a splash of lemon or whatever fruit is in it. So make sure if you go to the store and you buy something and you're like, wow, this is so sweet, so good, artificial sugar is in that. Okay, so it should taste pretty bland. It's that little hint of fruit. That's how you know you're more on the right track.
And that's why I like the Pellegrino, because I know it's just mineral water, sparkling mineral water, and that's it. Little bit more pricey if I compare it to regular water, but not so pricey if I compare it to soda or like, I don't know, whatever other beverages that are kind of popular nowadays. And it's, again, something that you just have, 4 or 6 ounces with, especially like those of my espresso connoisseurs out there, a little bit of a Pellegrino just to clean the palate prior to the espresso. That's the way it's done, right? Yeah. Pinky out, right, Linz? Right on. This is from Amin. Amin asks, Lindsay, when you did your study with half the team fasted, half fed, at what time did the fasted students stop eating the previous night? And there is a minimum of fasting time. This is actually a great question that a lot of people, what would be the appropriate, number one, of your study, when did they stop, just out of curiosity? And number two, how much time in between ingestion would you consider a average individual to be fully fasted?
Yeah, so scientifically, again, depending on what your last meal was, it's usually about 10 hours, 10 to 12 hours. I believe 10 hours is what they recommend for like surgeries and blood work and things like that. But you want to provide your body enough time. This is why it's perfect to do it right when you wake up. Okay, so if you sleep for 8 hours, you don't eat 2 hours prior to going to bed. You wake up, have a cup of black coffee, something like that. A half hour has gone by. That's pretty much 12 hours. So for a fact that you have no, you've suppressed insulin, you've activated lipolysis or the breakdown of stored fat. Yep. So I would say in that 10 to 12 hour range, which is why, again, it's perfect for the morning. Yeah. For mine in particular, they're college students, so I had to be very specific.
Sure.
But no, ours was at least 10 hours.
Okay. Yep. So 10 hours, which, and they're doing the test at 9 o'clock in the morning, then it's, 11 o'clock at night is their last meal. And that's certainly fair.
Perfectly fine. Yeah.
And that's for most people. When we talk about fasted lists, a lot of individuals ask us, like, when is the best time to do it? First thing in the morning, because that's usually your longest window of not eating, because you've been asleep, hopefully, for 8 hours. And hopefully you haven't eaten, for a little bit of time before you went to bed. And then you wake up and you have another typically 30 minutes or so where you're fasted also. So you could really turn that 8 hour sleep easily into a 10, 11, or even 12. And I'd say in my own normal life, I average eat between about 11 hours. So I have a fed window of 11 or so hours. So I eat over the course of about 11 hours. And this isn't attempting, this is just on average. If I look back over the last week or month or even year, I typically, quote, fast for about 13 hours because of the hours I sleep, when I stop eating before I go to bed, because I wake up and I do my own list in the morning. That's about 13 hours of not eating anything, and then 11 hours of eating in even intervals throughout the day.
Right. So it's a natural overnight fast. So you have to, intermittent fasting and all that nonsense. You don't have to deprive yourself all day just to do a half hour of fasted cardio in the evening. Yeah. So definitely 100%. And even if it's like, some of you guys might be thinking like, oh, well, I have to be at work at 7 a.m. Yep. Getting up 1 hour earlier or even a half hour earlier is not the end of the world. It's hard to, it's dark outside, it's cold, there's snow. By the way, I think there's probably 4 to 5 inches of snow just in the last hour and a half.
Wow. I hope it comes here.
I'm Wonderland out there.
I'm getting some of my best workouts shoveling out my entire town.
That's a good workout.
Oh man, my low back is so shot. Like that's the one thing. Like I've got like 3 massages. I'm at the banya every day with like the hot cold, immersions and that whole thing, just to like recover from all the snow that we've gotten recently.
I know my spine hates me.
What's that?
My spine hates me.
Are you doing the shoveling also at your place?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, do you mentally like, all right, I gotta pre-fuel for this. I get my hydration in, check my electrolytes here. I got, all right, 30 minutes. I'm going to be outside. I'm going to go hard.
It gets serious. Luckily, the neighbors have a snowblower, so they help out a little bit.
Okay.
Cheaters.
I know. It's like, well, I got to be fair. Like I'll shovel my own property, but then I have a snowblower also that I've been itching to use for like 2 years now. And because I bought it when we first moved back to Jersey, and two winters went by, no new need for the snowblower. And I'm staring at it like I just want to use this damn thing. Finally, the snow comes down, and I just like all my neighbors. I'm just like, just doing their whole property, like just so happy. Like I'm not just freaking weirdo. Like even like across the street, I'm like going to neighbors I've never even met before. And I'm just like snow blowing their property. They're coming out with like little $5 bills for me to like thank me, like a little boy
with your like Superman cape on.
Yes, I feel so good about myself. It's funny because the snowblower it makes it fun, right? It really kind of makes it fun for some odd reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the newness of it for me. So it's funny because like I can see people like look out the window and they just kind of like fade back into their house again. They don't say a word. It's like this idiot. He's new to the neighborhood. Let him do it all. All right. Let's Robert Thompson says mushrooms for strength training. And I don't know if you're talking about like the Onnit kind of mushrooms or if you're talking about like psilocybin, which, hey, like I'm not opposed to that as long as it's legal. I'm waiting for more jurisdictions to legalize that. There's lots of benefit. But as far as mushrooms for strength training, meh. Like, I don't know, like on the psilocybin, I'll go there. On that point, I don't know. I've never actually, eaten mushrooms and went strength training. Although back in my early days, I will admit to eating mushrooms and programming. And
gets you through.
I gotta tell you, it was like Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting, or like I could like just like see everything and just like had like my whole like epiphanies and just kind of like the whole because I was at like my teens, right, late teens, early 20s and whatnot, and I was just so mentally deep into this. Internet was few and far between, so I'd have like all my books and magazines around me and just kind of sitting in the middle of my bed just kind of like programming on shrooms. That's true story. Not many years, unfortunately. And now that I'm a married father of 2, the just the thought of anything illicit or borderline illegal is not even such like a prude these days now, unfortunately. With that, I'm waiting for the New Jersey laws to kind of change, or anytime I head back to Nevada, which was great to be there not long ago, because they have recreational legal marijuana use, which I'm an advocate of that as long as it's legal and such. And I respond rather well to that, I will say.
I was going to say, Robert, I got nothing for you in the mushrooms category.
Yeah, I know Onnit had some supplements. I forget which ones they were right now. And I know that there were some mixed results on whether they worked or not, maybe placebo effect. Maybe it wasn't as powerful of a dose. So I think let's just say the jury is still out on that. I think there is some data that's interesting, to say the least. It's interesting. I think it has to do with like the ability to like oxygenate the muscles or the blood supply. And I'm kind of forgetting right now, so I might not be doing it full justice here. But I'd say the jury is still out. But any of my friends in Colorado or Oregon or California, let me know on your other experiments. I'd certainly be interested in hearing those. Last question here. Well, Jennifer LeClaire says, what are your thoughts on stevia, monk fruit, and erythritol?
Erythritol, I'll start with first. Sugar alcohols.
Yes.
So this is a huge keto thing. So everything that's keto friendly, like a bar or something like that, will say keto has you counting net carbs. So the product itself has 12 grams of carbs, but 10 grams of that is from sugar alcohols. So really you're only consuming 2 grams of carbs by keto standards. Sugar alcohols are not meant to be in the human body. They ruin your digestive system. They cause all sorts of digestive type issues. And same thing with stevia. So if you spent a week and you started, consuming the zero version of everything, so zero sugar, but there's stevia in there. It's an artificial sweetener. So as Mike said, he just put a video out just talking about artificial sweeteners. So I'm sure you talked about all 3 of these, but sugar alcohols are just not digestible by the human body and shouldn't be taken in. And you see them, especially with this keto craze, you see them in more and more products. So people are like, oh, they glance at the food label and they're like, oh, only 2 grams of carbs, perfect. But 8 or 10 grams of sugar alcohols, which is kind of hidden on there. So that's one to be aware of. That's another thing that's in like sugar-free gum and all that stuff is all sugar alcohols.
Yep, and it's a great point, Lindsay. And I've been asked this question a few times, and I always try and answer honestly and in a manner that people will remember and that kind of shake you a little bit. So it's not meant to be, snarky, let's say, but artificial sugars and non-calorie sugar additives are more of a discipline issue than anything else. And it's for some sort of emotional need. And we've all gone through that. Now, I've been eating well. I mean, I've been eating my whole life. And believe it or not, everyone here, you've been eating your entire life. You have a lifetime of experience eating. And in time, our dietary preferences change. And if you think about when you were a little boy or a little girl, you would eat candy and you would have Capri Suns and you would eat these foods, and shame on our parents for allowing that, I will say, but you would eat these foods that are childish. In my mind, seeking these type of foods and these sugar additives or these sugar alternates are, it's a childish approach to healthy nutrition. And I don't say that to be disrespectful. I say that so people will really reconsider their thoughts. Why? Oh, because it tastes better. Well, tastes better than what? Like a cup of black coffee or an Americano right now, which is literally just espresso and water. Some people are like, what can I eat instead? Can I just have a little bit of a whatever coffee creamer? Or can I put some stevia in that? And can I do this? 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 It's like, are you trying to be healthy? Or are you not trying to be healthy? Because these things, okay, so then they don't have sugar, but they do cause digestive distress. They can cause systemic inflammation. They can cause a competitive environment inside the digestive tract that helps your body, or I should say inhibits your body from absorbing the other nutritious food that then comes in. Is that worth it? Because you can simply have it tastes sugary. It's not really sugar. It kind of tastes like sugar. I'm going to pretend it's sugar and I'm going to have this anyway. So you're really fulfilling, and this is for everyone. So again, Jennifer, this isn't about you. This is kind of the mentality. We deal with thousands of people every year with similar questions. It's making the decision to be healthy. I'm going to be healthy. I don't need these fake foods. I don't need these fake additives. And unfortunately, if stevia was only stevia, that would be one thing, but it's not. The majority of the stevia products, and we've done research on this, we've written about it and spoken about it before. These products often have additives as a part of the ingredient list. So this is a stevia. I've seen stevia products that have sucralose in them. So it's like, oh yeah, it's stevia, but it's got sucralose. It's like gluten-free, but it's got hydrogenated oils. So it's like, it's a marketing scheme that's not really healthy for you. So for the most part, we say just avoid it. Like, what's the point of it? Like, Brandy will make muffins at the house with the girls. And the muffins they call for, man, a cup, like literally a cup of sugar or 2 cups of sugar. We're not adding that. So what do? We'll add applesauce instead. Applesauce is an amazing natural sweetener. Yes, there is sugar in that, but it's coming from a near pure form, excuse me, and we'll actually blend and in the Vitamix or the blend tech and the food processor, we'll make our own kind of applesauce that still retains much of the bulk food matter. So it's not exactly an applesauce, although we have used that sometimes, to be clear. So I want you to really think outside of the box, and if you want one of these sugar additives, I will ask why. Simply because we're longing for the flavor of some sort of childish drink. And I say that because I'm a human too, right? So the things that I say, don't act like I don't want a scoop of ice cream or some Sunny D or some Kool-Aid or whatever and harken back to the days of old. Like, yeah, that all sounds great, but I understand that's not good for me. Do I really want that? No, I'm going to be an adult and I'm going to have my espresso instead of the old hazelnut creamer I used to have 20 years ago that I loved every morning. I would get at the 7-Eleven before I made the 45-minute drive to work, right? That was a part of the Dunkin' Donuts, right? Dunkin' Donuts are huge out there. Give me a 16-ounce light and sweet. Man, that's basically your coffee, and it comes damn near clear white from all the sugar and milk they dump into it. Delicious. Especially, God forbid, you're smoking some weed and driving around eating donuts. Like, delicious. Not that I've ever done that by I will say, but it's delicious. I'm not going to do that stuff because now we know better. So kind of a long rant right here to say, make the decision, get it out of your life and fall in love with the flavor of real food. That's what it's like. The vegans who go to the Beyond Burgers and all that stuff and the Chick X nuggets. Just eat real food. Just eat the real food. Fall in love with the real food. You'll be so much happier. You'll be so much healthier. And then you can come up with amazing recipes.
It's funny that you bring up Dunkin' Donuts because I actually love Dunkin' Donuts coffee, which I know probably upsets you. So now you're a coffee connoisseur. There's always a spot. We're East Coast over here. There's always a spot for D&D. Well, I'll tell you, if you put a pin where I am right now, There's probably 10 Dunkin' Donuts within 5 miles in any direction.
For sure. College campus, of course.
They're everywhere.
Yep.
But it's funny you say that because I'll walk to my car and I always go inside. I hate sitting in the drive-thru, and now you have to order it on your phone and walk inside, pick it up, which is honestly convenient. But
yep.
One of these days, I just want to sit in my car in the parking lot with my window down and listen to what people order.
Ooh, nice.
Because it is insane. Like when you used to go inside and order, you'd be like, okay, can I get a large hot coffee with 11 creams and 7 sugars? Like, where is the room in the cup for the coffee?
Holy shit.
I'm not kidding. I've heard people say 10 plus sugars.
Yeah.
Like, that's just absurd. You're drinking a cup of sugar. It's insane.
Yeah.
And I know people are like, oh, black coffee. How could you drink that? And my coffee is nearly black, but you actually appreciate the actual taste of coffee.
Yep.
My students would be like, sometimes I'll just get a black iced coffee. They're like, is there anything in that? I'm like, well, no, not really. They're like, how do you drink that? And they walk in with theirs looking like a cup of skim milk.
Yeah.
It's another societal thing. But
it is. And if you go to Dunkin' Donuts menu or Starbucks menu or wherever, and you look at the nutrient facts of their different drinks and lattes, that'll scare you straight. Like these, I won't say the individual ones. So if you look at all the different coffee houses you might go to, you look at their nutrition facts of each individual drink, you'll see that there are drinks that are 700, 900, 1,100 or more calories per drink. And you see these kids, these high school kids and college kids drink, and middle-aged people and whomever else drinking these things as if it's just, oh yeah, I'm just drinking a coffee. What'd you have? And people say, we do, intake forms and on consults. Well, tell me, what do you eat? What do you drink? Have a coffee. What's in your coffee? Well, I get that, that vanilla soy latte or whatever it is. Like, oh, what ounce? Well, I get the 16 ounce or the 24 ounce. You pipe it up. You're like, you're drinking 2 of those a day. That's extra 1,200 calories. You're eating 2,400 calories, which is a good amount of food, but not a ton. 2,400 calories is a nice little meal plan. You're not starving, but you're not stuffing yourself. You're taking in an extra 50% of your total daily caloric intake through these two, quote, coffee drinks. No wonder why you're not losing weight, right? I mean, it really, someone's talking about making a 500 to 750 calorie deficit, where we got people drinking more than that in one latte.
Yes,
so
sir.
then they're cutting their food by 700 calories, but then they're drinking 1,200 calories of crappy lattes. It's something to consider. Most people, they don't realize that. They don't think about that. And then they'll go to the sugar-free versions because these, they're marketers, these companies. They're just trying to get you in the door. Oh, it's sugar-free. Sugar-free, that it's got a ton more fat, probably does. It's got the synthetic toxic chemicals in the form of artificial sweeteners, which totally causes that nasty gut rot, right? And then the conversation, it's kind of like going full circle now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and here's one thing, actually, you brought this up years and years ago. I was working at Team Quest, head strength coach, Team Quest North, Portland, Oregon, back in like 04, 05. And I opened up or started the women's fit class. It was a way to build the business, right? This gym was nasty. We're trying to create membership. The women's fit class had an amazing group of just powerful women in this class. And they were like the wives and mothers and sisters of the fighters, right? So it was a great way to give them a safe place to train, to teach them, but not to be like hardcore MMA fighting. And bam, we get them in. And one of the young ladies in class who was amazing, she worked so hard. And it was the mother of one of the pro fighters. She worked so hard. She was so dedicated. And she grabbed me after class and she's like, Mike, I just can't. It's so hard for me to break the habit of going to this local fast food burger shop. And there was one literally across the street. I forget the name of the shop right now, or I'd call it out. She's like, well, what if I just get a small fry and the burger and then this and that? And I said, you know what? Do me a favor and sit in the parking lot and watch the people walk in and walk out. When you see someone with the body that you want to look like, go in and order whatever you want. A week later, she comes back and she's like, I cannot believe. She's like, I never realized before. And she starts going through the different humans that she saw walking in and out. It scared her straight. And I didn't know it would have that powerful impact on her. She was describing in great detail how sickly most of these people looked and their families and she was most appalled by the children, to see the children, it was terrifying to see. And she actually teared up in talking about it. From that day forward, Lindsay, she's one of my best transformation stories ever, because she started out as a morbidly obese lady. She right now looks like she's probably in her upper 60s at this point in life. Looks like the epitome of a yoga instructor whose studio you want to go to learn from her. This is a lady who's probably lost over 200 pounds. And I take no credit for this. I was just witness to her having that epiphany on the impact of food and food culture and pop culture norms, and breaking the narrative of her circle, like that support group. Changed everything about her. And I think everyone in here, that kind of adds something. So the way we order our coffee, the way we look at the relationship with artificial foods and hydrogenated oils inside of our food-like substances, and waking up a half hour earlier to get in that cardio, which means, hey, go to bed an hour earlier, because Lord knows nothing good happens after 9 o'clock at night anyway. Netflix will be there. You go to bed at 11, go to bed at 10, get in bed earlier. Right? Snuggle up with your significant other or whatever you do, scroll the gram, fall asleep, wake up a half hour early. You get a half hour of extra net sleep while waking up a half hour earlier than you normally do. You're so much more productive and rested. These are all easy little lifestyle hacks that people can employ. We can go on, but we will next Monday, because Professor Lindsay Howard will be back on the show. This is becoming a regular thing now, ladies and gentlemen. Every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Lindsay has carved out time in her schedule to devote to you. So the amazing community here to answer your questions. And usually I will sidetrack the conversations with lots of passionate rants that are borderline inappropriate and personal drug use. And hey, wait, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? But you had some prospective suitors, so I'm going to ask them to send resumes and the last 3 years of income tax statements. So I do want to see who these individuals are, and I'll vet them for you, of course. And we'll go. Anything else that you got to share before we pop off here?
I was seeing if we could fit it in this week, but we'll definitely talk about it next week. I want to talk about the UFC fighter who missed weight by 12 pounds.
Yes, we will.
Definitely going to talk about that.
Yes, we will. We will. Made history, 11.5 pounds overweight.
Miss ever.
And as a footnote, I was actually a part of the former record holder, which was Anthony Rumble Johnson, missing weight by, I believe it was 11.2 pounds, fighting my client, Vitor Belfort. So we can talk about that, the behind the scenes, the negotiations that we had with Lorenzo Fertitta and Dana White, how we first learned Rumble was going to be overweight. There's a lot to this backstory. So this will be a fun one, but also I definitely want to hear your take on this. Also, Bobby Green, I think within the last week, Bobby Green made weight and then collapsed and was pulled off the card. He said his kidneys shut down. Mm-hmm. So we have a really good conversation to be had here. And we'll use these two stories this weekend at our certification and fitness conference. So we'll break that down when we go over the weight cutting section and some of the what not to do's. Again, if anyone is interested, this weekend, Friday night, Saturday day, Sunday morning, February 26th, 27th, and 28th, the Dolce Diet Certification and Fitness Conference. Become a Dolce Diet certified coach, work alongside our team, become an endorsed local professional of our brand in your vicinity. This will differentiate you from all of the other fitness experts in your area, and also learn how to build your business following our best practices of brand establishment and also cash flow management, which is something most people do not discuss. Lindsay will be doing the lion's share of the teaching on nutrition and dietetics, taking you in a very easy to understand manner, which is important. No background is necessary. We have PhDs and individuals who have yet to earn their GEDs in these classes, who all move forward and have similar dramatic positive benefits from this course, which is what we love. We really distill down the information that you need to know, while you also get the 340-page textbook, which becomes your best friend in life. We teach you how to use this, how to research it, how to source it, how to dog ear it and highlight it. Also, all attendees get one of these super cool Dolce Diet fleece lined hoodies as a part of it. Those are all in the mail right now. So we got lots of cool stuff. So that link is below. Anyone who's interested, we have just a few spots left. We might even be sold out by the time this broadcast ends. So lots of great stuff coming here. Lindsay, again, you're awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate the time and everything that you add, to these conversations, but that you add to the team. So it's just a pleasure working alongside you.
Yeah. I got to say, we need to find, you asked me for a headshot. We need a better picture. The picture that you used, I was like, I hope people don't think that's me.
No, it was funny because I was like, let me just get something off here. I was like, looks nothing like Lindsay, but data shows that photos get more clicks, right? So I was like, I can't, but I didn't use it on the Instagram because I tagged you. And I didn't want to, I was like, hey, I don't want to tag her on Instagram and it not be her. But for the purpose, I was like, hey, and I typed in registered dietitian into the search query that we pay for a service that gives us this. And this popped up. I was like, all right, here's a dietitian. Let me just use that because it's Ask a Dietitian. But we will change that. So we need awesome headshots. But you and I will figure that out. And actually, hold on. Let me see something here. Let me try something. All right.
Are we taking one right now?
We're going to do something here right now. Let's see.
Okay, hold on. Let me just get centered.
Tell me when. All right, on 3. 1, 2, 3. I think that's a great one. I look like an idiot, which is awesome. You look awesome. I look like an idiot, and that's fair. I am an idiot. I think that's why. So this is a good one. And can you see the split screen like this now? Mm-hmm. Oh, so you can see all the screens that I pop up there. I was always wondering how it looks on that side. Mm-hmm. You could see that one. You could see that one. And then, of course, everyone's favorite is that one. There we go. There we go. Awesome. Well, Lindsay, you are awesome. I really do appreciate you being here. Everybody, all the community, thank you guys for being here, for being a part of this. I think that's it. More questions. If you're not a member, check out our Patreon channel, of course. Mike Dolce knows on Patreon. We have lots of really cool stuff coming to that. Again, the certification event. Click the links below. You want to work with Lindsay one-on-one? Definitely click the link below. Get a 30-minute consult with Lindsay. She will break down your entire life and just get you out of the gate. You can even work with her one-on-one for the 8-week My Diet program, where she will personalize your exact nutrition protocol every single meal, every single day over an 8-week period, and be your personal dietitian walking that journey with you. So that would be, there's not a price tag that can actually be put on something like that. And that's for those who really want to step up to the next level. You want to get past that blockade, that plateau. You're dealing with some health issues. You want to move forward. You're trying to get your body back. And I will say, it's February 22nd. Summer's going to be here like that.
Summer is coming.
Summer's coming quick. It's funny because it's snowing right now, but you and I both know probably 2 weeks or so, you're going to walk outside and be like, holy crap, and have to take your jacket off, right? It's like, I should probably be in shorts, or like my legs are sweating, right? I know that happens to me all the time. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for having me. Looking forward to doing it again next week.
Absolutely. Lindsay, you are awesome. Thank you for being here. And everybody, thank you for being here. Until next time. Hold on.